Hi guys, my name is Lela Sophia. I am an artist and fine jewelry designer. If you like contemporary fine jewelry, if you like luxury handbags, all things interiors, and I have some fun videos for you. Today, so many of you guys, thank you, have been watching my original quiet luxury old money aesthetic video. So many people have been doing this. I made mine about 3-ish months ago, maybe a little bit more. And so I figured I'd do kind of a follow-up and even further breakdown, because I see a lot of kind of confusion blending of the quiet luxury versus old money. People are throwing minimalism in there, people are throwing normcore in there. Let's break them all up and share the subtle differences. If you guys are new here, thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to see you in all of my future videos. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram at Lela Sophia Jewelry. I put out videos every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and so I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. It is such a funny thing now we're seeing with the rise of social media that trends are no longer trends for era sakes, for kind of reflection sakes. Mary from Mary's Room, we know, I love you so much. She just talked about an article that I think is brilliant, and maybe it's the millennial in me, but essentially I believe it was a Harper's Bazaar article that in extreme layman's terms, and to very, very loosely quote it, TikTok, especially the quicker kind of social media platforms, things are no longer trendy. It's almost a trend in itself to predict trends. Something like quiet luxury, for example, minimalism, and the old money aesthetic, three, in my opinion, totally different vibes that have been happening forever, and I think everybody's just kind of blending into one. It's so funny to see a TV show kind of setting the mood for a new trend to happen. So the talk of Succession, everybody's talking about how Shiv is like the epitome of quiet luxury. I would argue that there's a lot of kind of old money vibes going on. People who do this so well in genuinely an authentic way, and just in like a kind of cooler way. I think Alyssa Lenore dresses in a very kind of old money vibe, and Rosie Huntington Whiteley, who I talked about in my first video, those two people on very kind of different vibes, end of the spectrum, totally different humans, right? I think that they have totally perfected this style in a real way, and not coming from like a trend, like they've been dressing this way forever. We're talking about kind of like, when I think of the old money aesthetic, I think a really, really beautifully wide leg tailored pant with a thin belt, maybe a button up on top, maybe a really, really beautifully constructed kind of simple crisp white tee with a blazer over top. There are so many different ways, but that's kind of like the vibe of what I think of. Two bags that I think are really, really good representations of the old money aesthetic is something like the Hermes Kelly bag, and also the Celine Triomphe or horse carriage bag. In this case, this is my vintage horse carriage bag, and also my vintage Hermes Kelly bag. But I really, really think that brands like Celine, brands like Hermes, brands like Loro Piana are kind of the quintessential epitome of the old money aesthetic. Now, I have these bags. I definitely will go in more depth what my style is. I think I'm much more of a minimalist. And I guess I'm now maybe leaning more quiet luxury with my bags, but with my dressing, I am true hardcore 90s minimalism. It's kind of interesting and fun to then say we can mix up all three of these styles by adding a bag, by adding a pair of shoes. When we think of Gucci loafers, right? That's very old money vibes. It's interesting, we can even add in something more contemporary like the Hermes Chypre or the Orans. Those are leaning old money. Couple more bags that I would say are leaning towards the old money. Of course, there is the Birkin bag. I think that Birkins can go either way. I just read an article. My mother left me an article, I'm sure from the Times, about having things like a beaten up Birkin be a trend and be a kind of signifier of old money. Something like a Kelly pochette. Oh, Loro Piana also does a very similar one, kind of that zippered little pochette bag. Something like that in ostrich would be very, very reminiscent of this style. And I would even go ahead and say a Gucci Jackie bag. I have a vintage one, but I really think that the new ones kind of merge this really cool intersection between the old money aesthetic and Gen Z and just dressing in a really cool, fun, funky way. Lastly, to not skip out on the Celine 16 bag, which you guys know I'm already obsessed with. This is also kind of the perfect in-between, good segue to merge the old money aesthetic with perhaps quiet luxury. So what is the difference between old money and quiet luxury? These are all just my opinions. You guys know me, right? Okay, we're transparent. We like to have completely unique own opinions. Quiet luxury is a little bit different, a bit more low-key, as it obviously says in the name. This is kind of the thing that could actually dominate and be a legitimate trend. We're seeing it on the runways. We saw this already years ago. And this is how I know that this is a longer lasting trend, because of Daniel Lee for Bottega. When Daniel Lee I would say his rise, his kind of peak at Bottega was between like 2019 and 2020, late 2021, early 2022. Even after he left, I'm still been purchasing his pieces for Bottega on the secondhand market. This dominated. So the pouch bag, the Jody, there are these iconic handbags that really like infiltrated the system. And I think that had a lot to do with the quiet luxury aesthetic. Now with Matthew Blazy, the two of them are just genius, honestly. Side note, I'm sorry, let me just interject with this entire video. The medium sardine bag just came out. I'm speechless, and I think I need it. I need your thoughts below. Okay, going back to the video now. Matthew Blazy for Bottega took that and ran with it, made his own stamp. He's putting his own vibes and truly, making a pair of jeans from leather, making a basic white tank from leather. Could you really get any kind of more quiet luxury? The fact that he's taken these heritage, vintage referenced bags and reworked them into something that the coolest of the cool people are wearing. Gabriela Carifa Johnson with her pale yellow Andiamo bag. Oh my God. The jealousy that came from me after seeing that post. It's such an interesting thing, but in my humble opinion, I really think that Bottega dominates quiet luxury and a lot of brands are following suit. The other brand that rides the line between all three of these, and we already know what I'm gonna say, okay? My love, the row. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen are genius, and I think that they perfectly kind of balance between the three, because you walk into the Rose store and you can go ahead and get a, very rather expensive, gorgeously tailored but perfectly oversized jacket that feels very kind of old money. You can also go in and get any one of their gorgeous bags that feels kind of in between that old money, but in my opinion, very quiet luxury, very vintage inspired. There's a lot of vintage Hermes references in there. There's a lot of old Celine references in there. And you can go in and just get a perfect white t-shirt and a perfect pair of pants. Minimalism at its finest. They, I think, ride the gorgeous line and harmonize the original of these three vibes. Something like the double circle bag. I would say quiet luxury. This is very chill, very cool, but when you feel it, I wish you could feel this through the screen right now. It is the softest leather of all time. Honestly, just feel like this elevates every single one of my outfits without taking away from anything. They're genius. Then there's something like the Twin 2 bag, which I absolutely love. It is half ostrich, half lizard, crossbody. There are black ones of these. There are more solid leather ones. There's a couple on the RealReal that are darker, the same style, half ostrich, half lizard. Obsessed. Go look at it right now. Highly recommend this bag. I think of this as quiet luxury because I wear this and definitely nobody knows, oh, that's the bro bag from however many seasons ago. No, and I'm not trying, I don't want anybody to, I just really love the bag. I have a weird love for yellow leather, I don't know. But it definitely goes in with that kind of quiet luxury minimalism because yes, at the end of the day, who am I kidding? This is an exotic bag. And the last one from the row, you guys already know. I think this is the epitome of where they shine between kind of the old money and quiet luxury. This bag is tailored to perfection. Again, like maybe she doesn't come off as beautiful on screen, but if you can feel, like, do you hear that? It sounds like wood. It is so hardy, well made, and the quality, like I just can't say enough good things about the quality. Perfect mix between the two. And we already know, just to go back for 2 seconds, right? Good old Daniel Lee for Bottega. This is quiet luxury at its finest. If you guys haven't seen, I just posted my entire Bottega bag collection video. This is just a really good example because yes, the chain pouch might be a little louder, the regular pouch might be a little bit more recognizable, and this bad boy I think is very under the radar. I wear it and people even my fashionable friends are like, wait, who made that? It's really cool. And I love that. Quiet luxury aesthetic, I think the longest lasting of all of these trends for the moment. Minimalism is a forever staple in our trendy lives. But quiet luxury is truly about taking a step back. Instead of over-consuming, making sure that you are not only in love with the piece that you're purchasing, that it fits you, that it works well for your lifestyle, that it can carry with you for decades perhaps, maybe even be passed down, and that the quality will last through all of those elements. I also happen to think that Kate rides the line really, really well. The bags in particular definitely lean more of that quiet luxury aesthetic, but some of the clothes I think can totally bounce between all three as well. So they're an incredible brand if you want to check that out. And another quiet luxury brand that also perfectly transitions to the next one, I think, is La Mer. Croissant bag. The La Mer pieces are that perfect balance in between. They are so well made. That leather, it's buttery, it's hardy. The way that the two designers wear their own pieces, I think, is gorgeous. And yet, we're getting into more minimalistic vibes. Minimalism. Now, this is definitely how I've dressed my entire life. I kind of figured out, you know, through my body shape, I'm extremely curvy, I'm bigger, and there's just, in my opinion, there's a lot going on. So I kind of silhouette out myself in true heritage, kind of 90s minimalism. I'll literally just wear a tank top and leggings, maybe high-waisted pants and a tank, maybe a button down every once in a while, and slip dresses. I am basic to the max. We love lace, we love black. Monochrome is the, again, kind of through line between all three of these vibes, but monochrome really started with minimalism. The OGs of minimalism, Jill Sander, Margiela, okay, these are the goats. I think brands like Head Manor is such a cool kind of minimalistic, almost utilitarian vibe. It's so cool because then within minimalism, there's so much in there. One could argue that a Rick Owens could lean very minimalistic if you're wearing more so just like a tank and a pair of the pants. Yoji goes very in between everything, but Yoji can kind of be considered minimalism, not just for the color palette, but even more so for like the beautifully constructed garments. There's asymmetry, there's some really cool layering and draping there. There are so many ways to do minimalism. Now, bonus part, right? This is such an interesting thing. Again, I've seen several videos and kind of on social media and also on this platform talk about Louis Vuitton and talk about normcore and how that is kind of merging the two of them. We all know I will be coming out with my vintage Louis collection. I love some good vintage Louis, okay? I'm a sucker for it. Louis Vuitton rides all of these lines because even though they're monogram, I would consider them, and I think this has been considered by several other creators, as more of an old money brand. It's in the top three, right? Hermes, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, they hold their value really well. They're really well made. Maybe in recent years, Louis has kind of taken on a new definition, but we're talking those heritage pieces have really, really kind of stapled themselves in the fashion industry. And then there's the question of like Mary-Kate Olsen walking around the airport with a scarf and a baggy tee and baggy pants, and then her beaten up Louis bag. I love that she's just so like, any trend, she's like, guys, I've been in this industry for decades, okay? Calm down, stop talking, stop fixating on all these things, and kind of always shows us that the opposite is possible. So something like normcore, again, I might not agree. I'm a millennial, guys, okay? The whole naming every single kind of vibe and calling it as a trend is a little extra for me, but it's funny as well. And so I think we can find some humor in like normcore and recessioncore. I think there was even one other thing that they were trying to pin like Jonah Hill. Okay, we've gone very far out of our original scope, but it's an interesting thing to kind of throw out here because they're all similar. Yes, it's, you know, we're not comparing these to like color blocking and dopamine dressing. They're all very similar with subtle nuances. As my final piece, as I've yammered on this entire video, I've said this in one other video, but I really, really do think that, you know, we see cycles, and as I've talked about before, trends are not linear. Trends really like move in opposite ways and kind of bounce around a spectrum and then always come right back. I think that even with me, right? We're talking me, my incredibly tonal bag collection. We have every shade of brown possible, every shade of nude. We're going very, it's very unified. Even I have been like, I want a baby pink bag now. I want a lavender bag. I want a pastel bag. I think that, especially in time for spring, especially in time for summer, people are gonna go the opposite way and start to want colorful bags. Fine, we might leave the logos alone for a while. I'm still gonna wear my vintage Louis, but I really think that coming up next will be this more kind of minimal, maybe quiet luxury bags, but in color. That has been my long-winded follow-up to the difference between quiet luxury, old money, and minimalism, and some extras thrown in there. As always, I cannot wait to see you guys in my next one. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram at Lela Sophia Jewelry, and I can't wait to see you. Bye, guys.